The last night of 1,000 years, full narrative paragraph format. The last night of 1,000 years, how the greatest city on earth finally broke. There are moments in history when nothing seems to be happening. When the world grows so quiet it feels as though time itself has paused. On a pale morning in 1453, a great city stood beneath a muted sky, listening to its own silence. Its streets were mostly empty, its markets barely whispered, and its towers cast long shadows over neighborhoods that no longer remembered noise. For more than 1,000 years, this city had stood at the center of the known world. Empires had formed around it, trade routes had bent toward it, and wars had been fought simply to reach its gates. Yet on this final morning, the city felt old and tired, as if it understood something its people still refused to say aloud. This was the last day of a world that believed itself unbreakable. The city had not been built by chance. It stood where two continents nearly touched, where seas converged and ships were forced to slow and acknowledge its presence. Whoever controlled this place controlled movement itself. From the moment its foundations were laid, the city was designed to dominate. Wide avenues were planned with precision. Public squares were arranged to impress visitors and intimidate rivals, and vast storage facilities ensured survival through long emergencies. Stone was chosen not for beauty, but for endurance. Angles were calculated to deflect force. Gateways were designed to funnel movement and expose intruders. Above all stood the walls-layered defenses unlike anything the world had known. A deep moat slowed attackers, an outer wall absorbed impact, and a higher inner wall crushed momentum. Between them lay open ground where any invading force would already be broken. For centuries, attackers learned the same lesson. The city could be threatened, surrounded, and tested, but it could not be taken at its height. Nearly 1 million people lived within these walls. Ships filled the harbors day and night. Voices in dozens of languages echoed through markets. Grain, metal, textiles, and ideas moved constantly through its streets. Knowledge traveled with trade, making the city not only wealthy, but influential. Generations grew up believing the city was permanent, that it had outgrown the rules governing ordinary places. But permanence is a dangerous belief. Over time, confidence replaced vigilance. Repairs were delayed, stones reused, maintenance postponed. The walls remained imposing, but attention drifted. Power shifted elsewhere. New routes emerged. The population thinned slowly, then noticeably. Neighborhoods fell silent, homes collapsed inward, and vegetation reclaimed streets. From the outside, the city still looked mighty. From within it felt hollow. The stone endured, but the people did not dot. As manpower dwindled, defenses stretched thin. Towers still needed guards, gates still required watchmen, and walls still demanded constant attention, yet fewer hands remained to provide it. Plans assumed a population that no longer existed. Beyond the horizon, a growing power observed patiently. It did not rush or gamble. It watched which walls were neglected, how often patrols passed, and which districts were abandoned. Inside the city, confidence remained stubborn. Stories of past victories were repeated, children raised on tales of invincibility. The walls were not just defenses, they were identity. Few questioned them. Fewer still imagined a future where they failed. What the city failed to see was change. Its defenses were designed for old wars and familiar weapons. It prepared for ladders and rams, for assaults it understood. Far away, engineers experimented with metal, measurements, and force. Failures taught lessons. Designs improved. What emerged was not merely a weapon, but a transformation, a massive cannon that cracked the ground when it moved and roared, like the sky tearing itself apart when it fired. Stone that had endured centuries shattered in moments. When the weapon was finally positioned outside the city, the defenders did not understand what they were seeing. Then it fired, and a section of wall collapsed. For the first time in its history, the city's walls failed. Repairs were rushed. Rubble replaced stone. Wood and earth filled gaps. For a while, the walls stood again, but belief had cracked. Each day the cannon fired. Each night defenders worked by torchlight, hands bleeding, tools breaking, sleep becoming rare. The siege became a war of endurance. Silence was used as a weapon, broken suddenly by destruction, keeping fear alive. Inside the city, routines dissolved. Meals were skipped, schedules blurred, and days bled into nights. People stopped asking what day it was, and began asking how long they had left. The city still trusted the sea. As long as ships could reach its harbors, survival seemed possible. So the attackers removed the sea. Under cover of night, ships were dragged over land on greased logs, hauled across hills and forests. By morning, enemy vessels floated calmly inside the protected harbor. The impossible had happened. Hope fractured. If ships could cross land, then nothing was certain. From that moment, the city counted time differently, by meals, arrows, and hours of rest. Leaders gathered and faced the truth. Defenders were too few, supplies dwindling, and no relief was coming. Yet surrender was not considered. Identity mattered more than outcome. If the city fell, it would fall standing, as trenches crept closer and breaches widened faster than they could be repaired. Hope eroded. The walls still stood, but they felt borrowed. Conversations shifted from survival to memory, from victory to remembrance. On the final night, the city grew quiet. Weapons were checked, positions assigned, and men stood beside lifelong companions without words. Outside, preparations were calm and precise. The first assault came before dawn, meant to exhaust. The second pressed harder. Then came a pause of silence that invited doubt. When the final force advanced, it moved with discipline, targeting weakness. Somewhere along the defenses, exhaustion caused a small failure, a delayed watch, an unsecured gate. History turned, not on spectacle, but on fatigue. Once inside, the walls no longer mattered. Fighting spilled into narrow streets where the city's own design worked against it. Smoke filled the air. Coordination vanished. The leader removed all symbols of authority and stepped into the chaos, disappearing without confirmed trace. By morning, resistance collapsed. 1,000 years ended not in a single strike but under the accumulated weight of time, change, and exhaustion. Afterward, the city felt emptied rather than conquered. Neighborhoods stood abandoned, buildings hollow. Those who entered expecting glory found a place already worn down by centuries. Continuity had broken. News spread quickly, unsettling a world that had assumed permanence. Trade routes shifted, maps were redrawn, and knowledge moved with those who left, carrying ideas and skills elsewhere. The old world did not end with ceremony. It simply stopped functioning as before. New paths were sought, exploration increased, and urgency replaced certainty. The fallen city became a warning, not of failure, but of inevitability. No defense is permanent, no advantage lasts forever, and no reputation can replace adaptation. What truly destroyed the city was not one weapon or one mistake, but the refusal to accept that the rules had changed. The city prepared for the past, and the future arrived anyway. Imagine the city now, walls still standing, streets quiet, air heavy with history. Nothing looks dramatic, yet everything is different. History does not end when walls fall, it begins again. That night, 1,000 years ended, and the world stepped into something new.